If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Sports Card Nation, the hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews, it's your number one source. Sports Card Nation, the hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 329 of Sports Card Nation podcast. Got my good friend Tony Demarzio on today's episode, and glad to have him on. We have a lot in common, and good guy from the Philly area. My nephew's down there, as well as a Philadelphia fireman, and Philly, man, they've blown up. I mean, it's a big city, great sports town, but seems like in the last 5 or 10 years, hobby-wise, that area has really, planted its flag, if you will. So big ups to Philly, and Tony's a lifelong native, and obviously a fan of Philly sports. We're going to chop up the hobby, and Tony's a good guy, been doing it. He came back, he was in it as a kid, like a lot of us, and then came back. So we're going to learn all about kind of his trajectory there. Little house cleaning note. My new show, Breaking Cardboard, my new old show, Breaking Cardboard, started last week, which had Mike Petty on episode 1. This will be an every other Friday show, live, 9 p.m. every other Friday. And I'll release the audio on this platform here the following Monday after the show. What does it entail? Me with guest or guests. Very low key, a little different than this show. We'll kind of a little bit let our hair down, a little more laid back, have some fun, and open some packs as well. So we'll open up, anywhere between 3 and 6 packs in episodes at different points. Could be who knows what kind of packs, old school, junk wax era, vintage, current. You never know. So people love to see that stuff. So love to see you live in the chat room on a Friday night, but worst case, you can always hear us on audio on the Monday following. One more thing, I was looking like I was not going to go to the National in Chicago, and, my wife kind of talked me off the ledge, which I don't want to say it surprised me, but, maybe a little bit, she's like, hey, if you don't go, you're going to, wish you were there and that sort of thing. So I've had a nice run of shows. When I say shows, I'm talking about card shows as a dealer. So made some, kind of late in the game, but made hotel arrangements, flight arrangements, rental car. So, God willing, I will be there for the National this year in Chicago. She's right. I wouldn't miss it. But while Chicago's a great venue, for me it costs a little bit more in the wallet just because I can't drive to it, and got to fly, and so that's an added expense. Got a rental car, that's an added expense. But I'm not crying poverty, just going to have to save up my pennies, and so I can buy some cards while I'm at the show as well. So happy to announce that I will be attending here in about 120 days. It's coming. So about 4 months away. So with that being said, quick commercial break, and we'll be back on with my good friend Tony Demarzio.
Iron Sports Cards is your #1 source for all your PSA and other grading submissions. Their elite status improves turnaround times. Heck, they even provide the card savers. Their chat rooms provide updates on all your submissions. They also offer wax options and single cards to cover all the bases. Check them out on Facebook at Iron Sports Cards Group or on the web at ironsportscards.com, or even give them a call at 1-877-IRON-PSA. Rob's got you covered.
All right, I always say I'm really excited to talk to my next guest, and I always am, but I really am excited to talk to my next guest on the Sports Card Shop guest line. I got to meet him this past year in Cleveland at the National and the events there and the Moynihan get-together. Probably, I'm going to say, to me, one of the nicest guys in the hobby. He's nicer than me. I'll give him that much, but one of the nicest guys in the hobby. He's got a great collection on top of that. But glad to finally have him on. Tony Demarzio, welcome finally to Sports Card Nation.
Hey, John, thank you for having me. I feel like I made it. Dad, I made it.
Well, let's not get too crazy. But no, glad to have you. And like I said, I've gotten to know you through meeting you in person and subsequent conversations online, on the phone, and what have you. And, like the tagline of the show, right? The hobby is the people, and hopefully those people that you sort of affiliate yourself with are good or great, and you check those boxes. I use the 2 A words, ambassador and advocate. You check those boxes. So glad to have you on. First time on, I know it's not always an exciting question, but we got to start there. It's kind of, how did the hobby all start? How did this crazy hobby get started?
For me, it got started back in 1984. Was able to find some packs of 84 Topps, came across a couple of packs of 84 Don Russ, and then started buying Beckett magazines, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and we had a conversation, not recording, about some of those 80s designs. Some of those early Donruss designs were pretty bad, to put it bluntly. But that 84 Donruss, I know in speaking to you about it, we both love it. I think it's one of the, even to this day, 40-something years later, 41 years later, it really stands the test of time. And not a lot of those designs from the 80s do. And the 84 Donruss, to me, we don't really know who designed, these early Donruss sets, but I got it without knowing for sure. I could be wrong here, Tony. It's like the 81 and the 82 guy or person. They're like, hey, good try. We're getting someone else in here. And whoever did the 84, hit it out of the park. And the 85 is still one of my other favorites. And that was obviously, subsequent year. So, those 2 years for Donruss, were to me were home runs between the design, obviously the rookie class, and that sort of thing. And still to this day, I love it. And you can't say that about stuff that's always 40 years old, especially people would call the junk wax era. A little bit before, I like to think, but getting close. Kind of your thoughts on piggybacking off what I just.
84 Don Russ and 84 Flair Update are my 2 favorite sets from the 1980s, and also growing up. They hold a special place in my heart. I was able to get my childhood Mattingly rookie, and that was one of the first 10 cards I ever got graded. And I got, according to my PSA sub, I was able to get into my account. That was 2004. It was the first time I ever got cards graded.
Yeah.
So
now you like 84 Flair design a little bit better than I do. I know we talked about it again.
Well, I like the Don Russ better, but the 84 Flair Update with Clemens, Gooden, Seaver, and that rookie class, it's just unbelievable. Rose, we're in the Expos. uniform.
Yeah. That set brings back good memories and bad memories for me, Tony.
Hmm.
I owned a set. It was sort of in my PC, and during my store years in the '90s, I don't know why, but I brought the set to the store, even though I wasn't selling it. And it was kind of in the back room, and I had a partner in the store, but we also had another guy that kind of helped us out and worked for us, and it wound up he stole all the key cards out of that set and went and sold it to another store in a nearby town. And it's a long story, but I never saw those cards again. So
Sorry about that.
it is it makes for good content kind of to talk about, but not a fun moment at the time. But yeah, that set is just iconic for and what could have been too. I mean, when you think of Gooden and Strawberry
Hmm.
and so um, but the '84 Donruss, I'm 12 years old at the time, born in '72. And I was broke because of Donruss. And anyone that's heard my stuff knows I got a big a thing for rookie cards with close
Hmm.
facial shots like the Mattingly, '89 Upper Deck Griffey, and so that '84 Donruss basically bleeded my wallet dry consistently. So, but that just goes to show you how much I love the design and the cards that were in it. And to me, it stands the test of time. Unlike many things from the '80s in the hobby, that one still checks all the boxes for
All the
me.
boxes, every box it
And
checks.
yeah, and it's just an iconic set. And I even have a few packs I put away that sometimes I'm tempted to what's in it. Could there be? I mean, I remember in '84 I was on a really bad streak of opening '84 Donruss and not hitting the Manly. I was actually getting 12-year-old kid mad and that so I remember that. And that's probably why I don't open them up. You've got quite the collection. Like me, you like vintage.
Hmm.
I think from a selfish, my opinion. I think that's where it's at. I think today's as a dealer, I carry new stuff, but they just it's all a blur. There's so many. We talk about artificial scarcity and I don't know about you. I like the days when a guy had one rookie card or maybe three at the most, and now a rookie coming out is going to have 1,000 different rookie cards. Talk about kind of your approach to what you collect, what moves your meat.
Hmm. Just to talk about the different rookie cards and everything. At the Philly show, my son picked up two cards. One is a 2018 Panini Contenders Saquon Barkley, and he liked this card. Obviously, he's wearing a Giants, and we're from Philadelphia, but it's shaped like a ticket stub. So the top is perforated like a ticket stub would be. Well, before tickets went on the iPhone and other phones, and he picked up a Jalen Hurts 2020 National Treasures rookie card, and it has a solid black pouch, not from any game. It's not game worn or event worn, but it's just one of like 50 or to 100 rookie cards each of these players had in their respected years. But I guess with my son's going to be 16, and to him, I guess he likes to have the variety of buying a rookie card that either has an autograph on card or a sticker or a prism or shiny or multiple different options. So I guess Panini and Topps, they check all the boxes for these younger kids across the price points,
Yeah,
but
no,
not my thing.
and
So
yeah, no doubt. Listen, what kid? I mean, even me. I don't want to just say kid, right? To even
mhm.
when I open new stuff, right? The sort of the adrenaline rush of pulling an auto or a game used card, and then when you got a game used card, is it going to be, is it going to be single colored? Is it going to be part of the patch? Are you going to recognize what part of the uniform it's from? That sort of thing. Our era, Tony, we didn't have those back then. Like this is it's not new now, but it's a new concept when we compare to kind of what we we grow up in, and we're all a product of our environments. If for some reason we had that back then, we would have loved it back then. So I get it, and we could go down the road of like not game use, not any specific game. That's a whole show in itself. But there are game used jersey cards where they are guaranteed to be used in the game, and in some products they're even hologrammed, and they tell you what game it actually came from, which I think is
Hmm.
always cool. I don't have it any longer, but I remember even a Conforto patch card I had, which had part of the Mr. Met on it, which was really cool, and it had that hologram which you scan. It tells you the game that he
Yeah.
wore that in, and it happened to be a game he went like 4 for 5 with 2 home runs. And I watched I went on YouTube and they had the whole game uploaded on YouTube. So I literally watched the game and I'm watching the patch in action was sitting in my office while I was watching the game, which is kind of a weird, cool moment to think. But and that's always cool that you have those ties. And when Conforto left the Mets, someone wanted it still, and I wound up selling it. But kind of a cool card, cool conversation piece. But you're a vintage guy like me
Hmm.
especially when it comes to PC. How would you describe kind of what you PC? Obviously, Philly. You're a Philly native, and
Mike
so
Schmidt,
probably
Steve Carlton.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it probably starts there. That's kind of the low. But what when you're looking to add something to the PC, what kind of moves your meter? What are you looking at?
Hmm. So I got out of the hobby as for short, as a sabbatical, as what we call it, in late 1992, and then I came back in 2018, and then stayed in for 18 months. And the first thing I did was I went on eBay. I learned about PSA, and I said, "Oh, okay," because I got cards graded in 2004, so I knew what PSA was. But I went on eBay, and eBay had some tremendous coupons where you get 15% off, and I ended up buying the PSA 7 and 8 runs of every single Schmidt card from 73 up, and I usually concentrated on OPG. And then I picked up the Carlton cards too. And in 2018, they were pretty inexpensive compared to what they are now, even in PSA 8 grade. And so that did it for me. I picked up a couple Reggie Jacksons also because I was a Reggie fan growing up, after Schmidt and Carlton. And then I kind of drifted away, and then I came back in late 2022. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, I've been out of the hobby, give or take, for 35 years. So I tried to think, what did 10-year-old, because I was born in 1976. So what did 10-year-old Anthony, is what they called me then, what did he like? Well, I liked modern cards, but I always had a fascination with the greats. Who were the greats to me? Mickey Mantle, Demarzio, Mays, Robin Roberts, McCovey, and those types of guys. And I'm like, okay, so I always wanted them as a child, wasn't able to afford them, so let me go get them. So I was able to, wait till the market kind of settled down a little bit, and we had a couple dips in 2023, and I picked up a lot of those rookie cards, and the Aaron Johnston cookies and the Aaron tops, 54 tops, and it was a lot of fun. And then once I got all those cards I always wanted during this 35 years of being AWOL from the hobby, I decided, well, this Joe DiMaggio is great, but I never had a Babe Ruth card. I never had a Lou Gehrig card, or Jimmy Fox, Christy Mathewson. So then I started going down the pre-war rabbit hole, and that's when it's just, you know, um, everything changes, because not only you just don't have the one base card per year with maybe a league leader card associated with that, or a tops test issue, but you have other types of cards. You have manufacturers, you got caramel card manufacturers that were candy makers, tobacco make, the tobacco cards, and so on. So I got into that a little bit, and then the autographs, but mainly vintage, pre-war, and some of the stuff from the 50s and 60s. Then I got into the oddball. stuff, what people call oddballs. So like the Johnston cookies, the 68 Topps 3D, the Venezuelan cards, OPGs, just, trying different things and seeing what attracted me to various aspects of the hobby. And the cards are great, but what I found out was a lot of the hunts I had and a lot of the items in my collection, they would never be with me if it wasn't for relationships I made in the hobby, good friends. And that's clutch, because you're talking to a lot of these folks online, and then at the national or these regional card shows, you're able to get to talk to people, then you meet them. And then before you know it, you're talking to folks about maybe 25% of the hobby. And then the other 75% is more about what's going on in life outside of the hobby, sports and families. I just met someone in the hobby 6 months ago, and it turns out that person works at the same company I do. I had no idea.
Wow, talk about small
Yeah,
world.
it is a small world.
Yeah.
So just, it's just like you said, the hobby is the people, and pieces of cardboard, they're great, but without the story and the people behind them, then they're just pictures of grown men.
Yep. Well said. And
Someone's at my door. I've got to get that. Be right back.
For nearly 50 years, Sports Collectors Digest has been the voice of the hobby, bringing you comprehensive coverage of the sports collectible industry. From industry news, auction results, market analysis, and in-depth stories about collectors and their collections, Sports Collectors Digest has everything you need to know about the hobby. SCD is also your leading source for listings of sports collectible dealers, card shops, card shows, and the latest from the industry's top companies. To check out all the latest news or to subscribe to the hobby's oldest magazine, visit sportscollectorsdigest.com or call 1-800-829-5561.
Sports Card Nation has returned.
talk about, like you said, you kind of sabbatical for a number of years, and then to come back after all that time. Was it easier than you were expecting, more difficult than you were expecting? And kind of talk about, not being in the hobby and then kind of coming back. Now you were, it was a different hobby than the one you were familiar with. While some things were similar, and obviously was much different. The terrain was much different. Talk about kind of coming back after all that time, how you did it, maybe any kind of difficulties you ran into, and how you navigated all that.
So with the modern stuff, and I'm always concerned about modern because of my children. My daughter, who's 12, collects Formula One. My son started collecting cards in 2015 with the Star Wars and soccer cards and NFL football. So the reason I got out of the hobby in 1992 is because I bought a Shaquille O'Neal Topps Stadium Club card, and dealer won it $25. I was able to get the card for about $20, and I was all happy. I got Shaq's Key rookie, and he's the hottest thing now. You had MJ, then you had Robinson, and now you got Shaq, and I got Shaq. I was all happy. Friends were proud, saved up money, and then a month or two later, the latest Beckett magazine hit the newsstand, picked it up, and I found out there's a Beam Team card. And not only is there a Beam Team card, but there's a members only Beam Team card. Now, my card is going down in value, whereas these inserts are going up. So the inserts drove me away from the hobby, just left a bad taste in my mouth. So now it's 2018. I'm only buying vintage, really. But my kids want to buy modern stuff. So the hardest part for me is learning to accept that with the modern cards, you're going to have these inserts, you're going to have these parallels, these variants. And you got to learn about them, because you don't want your kids to get a little, you don't want the kids to get taken advantage of or getting bummed because they just spent $100 on a blaster pack, and then they get nothing out of it. So that was the biggest adjustment in terms of that. Now, with regards to the vintage items that I always wanted as a child and I got into, not too much has changed other than the prices, obviously. I mean, the first vintage card I remember picking up was in 1987. My grandparents and my dad saved some money, and I was able to go to Berlin Farmers Market. It's outside of Philadelphia in New Jersey, and I picked up a 67 Topps Mickey Mantle, and one of my
There
favorite
you go.
cards because when you look at the Mick, he was nearing the end of his career. His
Yeah.
production obviously wasn't what everyone was used to, but it was a nice profile picture. And I remember I was listening to one of the first YouTubers I watched at that time, John Keating, and John's talking about this card, and he's referring it to the Uncle Mick card because he looks like he had a few Mickey's beers
Yeah.
in that card. So vintage, the biggest adjustment was not only the increase in prices, but also the amount of people going after it. But luckily, you got enough supply for that demand. And, unless you're looking for a pristine 50, 50, 55, 45 centering. And then the grading that was part of it, obviously, because the grading influences how much it costs. So it wasn't, so 2022, 2023 for me wasn't like it was in 2018 where I was able to pick up these PSA 7s, these SGC 7s and 8, which were pretty cheap. Nah, things went up quick. So I just had to learn to pivot, and I sold some things that were, that I collected when I was outside of the hobby to help fund my current hobby. So that really helped me out in terms of, taking the ding out of my wallet. It padded it a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, the pricing can be crazy. I'm not going to read, but I've told my Jackie Robinson store, rookie store, I could have bought it many times much cheaper than I eventually had to purchase it. But don't regret it. It's right behind me, over my shoulder here, and that's the fun, right? Is to acquire something we've always wanted to, even if it's later than we wanted to get it. You know, you grew up in the '80s, collecting. We kind of talked about that already, where we had, it wasn't just Topps anymore. We had Donruss on this Fleer. Score eventually came along in '88, Upper Deck in '89, and so on and so forth. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of enjoyed those days. I know it's, as it's referred to, the junk wax era, and much of that is in common boxes or landfills. Well, one thing I do miss for sure is, a number of manufacturers competing in the arena to try to best each other and make the best product. And now with the exclusiveness of Fanatics and the license, the way it's been now for a number of years, not new. I kind of miss the days, even though I don't open as much new stuff as I once did. I still do as a dealer who wants to put some cards out in the showcase and have some of that selection. And again, it's a pipe dream. I don't know if we'll ever see those days again. And if we will, it won't be in the next few years. It'll be some time. But I hope someday we can have multiple manufacturers making baseball cards, basketball, football, hockey, insert whatever sport you love. Because I think, especially nowadays, I think even more so, I think that will drive the best out of each companies. And I know you don't, you mentioned because you care, because your kids are right in that wheelhouse for age, even just for them, like thinking about what I just said. I mean, do you kind of miss those days, or not necessarily? It doesn't
I
necessarily
do.
bother you.
I do because even though Flair in the 1980s they were headquartered out of Philadelphia, I couldn't find Flair. Flair 85 I found a little bit. 86 I couldn't find Flair anywhere. 87 same thing, and I don't know what the reason was. It just couldn't find them. Don Russ. By 86, Don Russ was nowhere to be found. So I was forced to buy Topps. So me buying Topps in pretty much most of 85 and 86 and 87 was kind of like Topps had a monopoly in my market in terms of availability. So I guess that would be familiar with how it was before 1981 buying cards. You were forced to buy Topps. Yeah, there was a few other sets there, TCMA and and that's what's the set
Gla-
SSCP or
Yeah, then you had the Galasso.
yeah, Galasso.
Yep,
And so
yep.
there was no competition, and I feel like that's where we're at now. We're not heading there. We actually are there. At the Philly show, my daughter was looking for Formula One blaster box to buy, and Fanatics makes them. I mean, there's no other making it. So the innovation's not there when you don't have competition. So they have a monopoly, and unfortunately, nothing I could say or do can, it is what it is, and we just got to hope that, you know, Fanatics and owns Topps, they keep innovating, and eventually, the Major League Baseball and the NFL Players Associations and the leagues, they come to some conclusions where they're willing to deal with multiple card manufacturers again instead of just the exclusive contract for one of them. But until then, we're at their mercy.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yep. You mentioned here you're in Fleer's backyard. I'm a Brooklyn kid, so I'm in Topps' backyard. No shortage of Topps. What I'm curious to your theory. Like you had the opposite problem I had. Topps
Yeah.
was everywhere in New York City, in the New York City company. Here you are in the home of the birthplace of Fleer, basically. Yet you had trouble finding it. Do you have any theories to why? Where you think they were just shipping it to other locations and not so much worried about local sales, or what do you think?
I think it was people flipping them. I think, collectors, because in 85, at least in my area, that's when I noticed adults going into stores and buying packs and buying boxes. I just think that the mom and pop stores, which sold boxes, because at that time, distributors were actually corner stores. So corner stores could be mom and pop stores, like a 7-Eleven size store, but it would be owned by a family. And you also had candy wholesalers, distributors, and they would sell cards alongside with a case of now laters, and M&Ms. And I think just people were buying them and they were holding on to them because they thought that this is their retirement, 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road. And since Topps was plentiful and the price guides always had Flair and Don Russ, at least from 84 on, they were more valuable, at least in the price guides. I think that's the reason why I couldn't find Flair, because they were the hottest thing along with Don Russ. Sportflix was available. Not too many people were buying them in 86 and 87 in my area, even though I liked them. But I think that's the reason why. I just think that the flippers got to them.
Yeah, I could see that. It makes sense, and to potentially why. And you mentioned Sportflix, and that was something completely different that we really haven't seen prior. Now we've seen lenticular cards, right? We think
Hmm.
about those Kellogg's 3D sets from the early 70s and 80s, but they didn't move; they just looked 3D. But the sport, I like the Sportflix, but like you said, that was sort of either loved them or you hated them. There was really no in betweens, and I think the haters outnumbered us, Tony, on the Sportflix. But I kind of liked them. I mean, the worst thing about them was that because of the size and thickness of the cards, you only got like three in a
Three,
pack instead of
three,
yeah,
and they were like $1 a pack.
yeah,
If I remember,
instead
they were
of
they were the first $1 a pack.
yeah, and instead of your 10 to 12 or more, of your regular stock cards. So that was the down. I think that's what people disliked more, Tony, about the Sportflix was just the amount of cards you pulled out of a
Yeah,
pack rather than
I
the
think so
cards
too.
themselves. Because
Yeah,
like
because
come
they
on,
were cool.
the guy swinging the bat or putting the glove down the field. That's pretty cool to see. It's like a little movie in your hand, like
Hmm.
in a sense, a 1 or 2 second clip that you couldn't get on any other kind of cardboard. And I always got a kick out of them. But I think between the cost and the amount of, the limited cards you were getting per
Hmm.
pack, I think that sort of killed sort of the buzz where me and you still kind of appreciated them. And it's funny. I still have them in this room in different spots. And I even think there's some wax over there that's still sealed. And so here's the
Yeah.
nice thing: if you ever open any Sportflix all these years later, they don't stick together like some of these other regular cardboard cards. So you
I
avoid that.
Last
Go
year
ahead.
at the Philly show, I went to Brian Roth's table, and
Yeah.
he had bought 3 boxes of 86 Flair. because now I'm making up for my childhood. So as like 10-year-old me now, so I'm satisfying 10-year-old Tony. I bought 3 boxes of 86 Flair, and I bought a box of 86 Sportflex. And I opened up one of the boxes of Flair. I'll save the other one for the National, and I kept the Sportflex box closed. But I really want to open it up because it's cool stuff. And I only opened up 1 or 2 packs in '86 of that brand because it was just too expensive, $1 a pack for a 10-year-old. Couldn't afford it.
And now you can buy Transcendent for $30,000 a box. If you we're complaining about dollar sport flick packs, and now we're in the era where you can buy a box for $30K. You know, one third or 1/4 of my house is a box of cards. That's crazy to think about. But you know, it's a different time, and you know, $1 a pack, you hit that 3-digit mark. That was a big deal back then. So.
For my 40th
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, just talking about expensive boxes, for my 49th birthday, February 9th, it was on the same day as the Super Bowl. My son got me a pack of Absolute 2024 football. And I don't know how much it cost him. I would guess at least $75 to $80 easily. And I think we got $20 worth of cards max.
Yeah, that's how that sometimes works.
But we had fun.
Well, listen, your Eagles delivered on your birthday though with a
yes,
Lombardi.
They did.
So while the box may not have been fruitful, the game more than probably made up. So way to celebrate your birthday. My birthday's in November, and the way the Steelers are going, I'm just hoping I live long enough to see another Super Bowl. I don't care that it won't be on my birthday. I just hope I'm still around to enjoy one more time at least. But that's a show for another day. Great having Tony on the podcast. Good dude. Knows what he wants to do collection wise, has a direction. Like I said, got to meet him in Cleveland. And pleasure getting to know him even more and more. We have a lot in common, as most of us do in the hobby. But sometimes you just click with someone and get along, and Tony's one of those type of guys. And we're not done with Tony just yet. He'll be back for part 2 and the conclusion of our conversation on next week's podcast. So if you enjoyed today, check out next week's podcast as we talk more with Tony Demarzio. All right, now we're going to hear from our Hobby is the People announcer of the week, come back with some closing thoughts, and wrap up this week's episode.
Time for our Hobby is the People announcer of the week.
Hey everyone, this is Alex here from Relics Cards and Collectibles in Toronto, representing the Relics squad. I just want to remind everyone, the hobby is the people.
If you'd like to be the Hobby is the People announcer of the week, do a WAV or MP3 file and send it to sportscardnationpc@gmail.com.
Hobby Hotline is the hobby's only live interactive call-in show. Join some of your favorite hobby personalities every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, to discuss the hottest hobby topics. If you miss us live, catch us after the fact on all major podcast platforms. Follow us on socials at Hobby Hotline.
Hi, I'm Isaac Alpert, a longtime card collector and the co-founder of the Penny Sleever. My wife and I started the Penny Sleever with a simple premise in mind: to offer collectors top quality supplies at fair prices. We offer a full range of hobby supplies and we'll get them to you fast. Whether you're looking for a 260-point magnetic for that oversized patch card or a slew of semi-rigids for your next PSA submission, the Penny Sleever has you covered. Shop now at thepennysleever.com and use the promo code SCNation to get 10% off your first order. That's SCNation for 10% off at thepennysleever.com. The Penny Sleever. Top quality supplies, fair prices.